fans there. How much during the game, obviously you're so locked in and focused in the game, how much do you notice outside of the games with the fans cheering you on? Do you really take notice to it, and does it help you through them?
The night Abu Dhabi burned brighter than the desert sun, Alex EALA'S skyscraper moment and the rise of a nation. For a few breathless seconds, an entire nation forgot where it was. High above Abu Dhabi, a skyscraper ignited, not with ads for luxury watches or oil conglomerates, but with the face of a 20-year-old girl from Quezon City. Her image, glowing against the desert night sky, felt unreal. It was almost fragile, yet impossibly powerful. Down below, traffic slowed. Pedestrians stopped mid-stride. And for the thousands of Filipinos looking up from the streets of the Emirates, phones came out, and voices cracked. Millions watching from thousands of miles away felt something shift inside their chests. This wasn't just recognition. It was reflection. For the first time, 110 million people saw themselves projected onto one of the world's grandest stages, not as the help, not as the guests, and not as the underdogs. They were the main event. Alex EALA didn't say a word in that towering image, yet the message was deafening. We are here. We matter. And we are coming for everything. What led to that moment, and why it meant more than any trophy, is a story that is still unfolding, and it is a story that has just taken its most dramatic turn yet. This is Court Vision Plus, and today we are talking about the week the desert bloomed for Philippine tennis, and the breakout star who is rewriting history one forehand at a time. To understand the magnitude of what just happened in the Middle East, you have to understand the setting. Abu Dhabi isn't just another stop on the tennis tour. For the global tennis elite, it's a luxury playground where sheiks rub shoulders with sponsors and champagne flows like the oil that built the city. But for the hundreds of thousands of Filipinos working in the UAE, it is something completely different. It is a second home, a place of sacrifice, hard work, and often, invisibility. They are the nurses who hold the hands of the sick. They are the engineers who design the very buildings they can barely afford to look at. They are the domestic workers who raise other people's children while missing the birthdays of their own. But last week, the script flipped in the most spectacular fashion imaginable. When Alex EALA walked onto the court at the Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open, she didn't walk alone. The stadium, usually a polite reserve of golf claps and hushed tones, was transformed into a chaotic, electric slice of Manila. Flags waved. Chants erupted. The home court advantage is supposed to be a myth in tennis, a sport where players are nomads, constantly traveling from city to city, never truly playing in front of their own people. But that myth died the moment Alex EALA stepped onto the hard courts of Abu Dhabi. Every point she won was met with a roar that shook the cameras. Every error was met with a collective groan that sounded like a family watching a horror movie together, hearts and throats, unable to look away. This wasn't a tennis match. It was a national assembly. It was a church service. It was a revolution disguised as a sporting event. And Alex? She played like she was carrying every single one of those cheers in her racket bag, like the weight of expectation wasn't a burden but rocket fuel. The headline isn't just that she played. It's how she fought. We need to talk about the match that nearly gave half the Philippines a heart attack, the round of 16 encounter against Alexandra Sasnovich, a seasoned Belarusian veteran who has been around the tour long enough to know every trick in the book. If you didn't watch it live, you missed one of the most absurd displays of grit in recent tennis history. Let's set the scene. EALA is deep in the third set. She's tired. The momentum has swung so hard against her it practically broke the hinges. She is down 0-4 in the decider. In professional tennis, coming back from 0-4 in the third set against a seasoned veteran isn't just difficult. It's statistically near impossible. The body language usually slumps. The shoulders drop. The eyes look to the coaching box for answers that aren't there. The crowd goes quiet, preparing their consolation speeches, already mentally drafting the "she gave it her all" tweets. But Alex EALA apparently didn't get the memo. Somewhere in that deficit, something clicked. The training from the Rafa Nadal Academy kicked in. You could see the switch flip. The jaw set. The eyes narrowed. She stopped playing tennis and started playing war. Point by point, she clawed back. She wasn't painting lines for style points. She was digging trenches. Every ball back was an act of defiance. Every winner was a declaration. She turned a 0-4 funeral into a tiebreak thriller, and when she finally sealed that win, 2-6, 6-4, 7-6, the explosion of noise in Abu Dhabi didn't just celebrate a victory. It celebrated a character trait that every Filipino knows intimately, the refusal to die when the odds say you're already dead. It's the same spirit that has kept the nation standing through typhoons, earthquakes, colonial occupation, and economic hardship. It's the spirit that says, you can knock me down, but I'm getting back up, and I'm coming for you. That victory was the spark. That was the moment the tournament organizers realized they weren't just hosting a player. They were hosting a movement. That was the moment her face on the skyscraper became inevitable. But before we get to that iconic image, we need to talk about what happened next, because the story only gets better. Alex didn't just win that match and call it a day. She kept going. She pushed into the quarterfinals, where she faced off against Ekaterina Alexandrova, the world number 11 and one of the most dangerous ball strikers on the WTA Tour. Now, let's be clear. Alexandrova is not someone you take lightly. This is a woman who has taken sets off Grand Slam champions. This is a player who hits the ball so hard it could leave bruises on the court. And for a 20-year-old still finding her feet at the top level, this was always going to be a mountain too steep to climb. EALA gave it everything. She fought. She scrapped. She refused to go quietly. But Alexandrova's power and experience eventually proved too much. The run ended, but not before Alex had already done something extraordinary. She had announced herself. She had given the Filipino fans in Abu Dhabi a week they would never forget. And she had earned enough ranking points to trigger an earthquake in the WTA rankings. Let's step back from the emotion for a second and look at the cold, hard numbers, because they are just as beautiful as the story itself. Following that quarterfinal run in Abu Dhabi, the rankings computer spit out a new reality on Monday morning. Alex EALA. World number 40. Let that sink in. Number 40 in the entire world. Out of thousands of professional players grinding away on courts from Bangkok to Bogota, from Taipei to Tashkent, Alex EALA is number 40. For decades, Philippine tennis was a story of almost and what if. We celebrated qualifying for main draws. We celebrated getting a set off a top player. We celebrated wildcards into small tournaments. But top 40? That is rarefied air. That is the zone where you aren't just a participant. You are a predator. That is the zone where you get direct entry into Grand Slams without having to fight through the grueling qualifiers. That is the zone where the icons of the sport, the Sabalenkas, the Goffs, the Swiateks, have to look at the draw and say, okay, where is EALA? Do I have to face her early? She has leaped over barriers that have stood for generations. She is the first Filipina to crack the top 50, and now the top 40. And she did it the hard way. No shortcuts. No wildcards into the easy events. She grounded out in the qualifiers. She fought through the 125s in Guadalajara, sweating it out in front of crowds of 50 people and one board official. She took her lumps on the ITF circuit, playing in cities most tennis fans have never heard of, earning $15 checks and sleeping in budget hotels. This ranking wasn't given. It was seized. It was earned through blisters, cramps, tears, and the kind of relentless work ethic that doesn't make headlines until the moment it explodes into glory. And that explosion happened in Abu Dhabi. That's when the world realized what the Philippines has known for months. Alex EALA is not a prospect anymore. She is not potential. She is arrival. Which brings us back to that skyscraper, to that image that has now been shared millions of times across social media. The tournament organizers made a decision that week. They could have put anyone on that building. They could have gone with the top seeds, the established stars, the names that sell tickets in Europe and America. But they didn't. They put Alex Ela up there, a 20-year-old from a country that has never produced a tennis superstar, and they let her face light up the Abu Dhabi skyline. For the Filipinos who saw it, the reaction was immediate and visceral. Grown men cried. Mothers clutched their phones. Workers on night shift stopped what they were doing and just stared. Because this wasn't just about tennis. This was about recognition. This was about being seen. Do you know how many Filipino mothers missed their children's birthdays to work in that city? Do you know how many fathers spent Christmas in a labor camp dormitory in the desert so they could send tuition money back to Manila? Do you know how many young professionals endured condescension, loneliness, and homesickness just to provide for their families back home? For those overseas Filipino workers, seeing a Filipina girl being treated like royalty in the very place where they often feel like second-class citizens, that is a vindication that goes beyond sports. It validates their sacrifice. It tells them, look, we can be the kings and queens of this place too. We don't have to stay in the shadows. We don't have to apologize for taking up space. Alex Ela carried 110 million hearts that night, but she carried the specific hopes of the diaspora a little closer to the surface. She played for the nanny who couldn't get the night off. She played for the engineer who watched on his phone during a bathroom break. She played for the security guard who recorded the match on a borrowed tablet. She played for everyone who has ever been told to keep their head down and work. And instead, she lifted her head up and made the whole world look at her. Now, before we get too carried away with the ticker tape parade and the parade of praise, we have to keep it real. This is tennis. The highs are dizzying, but the lows are just around the corner, waiting with a baseball bat to humble you. Immediately after the high of Abu Dhabi, Alex flew to Doha for the Qatar Open, a massive WTA 1000 event, one of the biggest tournaments on the calendar outside of the Grand Slams. The expectations were sky high. The adrenaline was still pumping. Social media was still buzzing. The Philippines was still riding the high. And then reality hit, hard and fast. She ran into the Czech teenage sensation Teresa Valentova in the first round, and it was a tough night. A first-round exit. A 7-6, 6-1 loss where the fatigue of the previous week clearly caught up with her legs. The serve wasn't popping. The movement was a half-step slow. The shots that had been landing on the lines in Abu Dhabi were now clipping the net or sailing long. It happens. It's tennis. And you know what? That's okay. In fact, it's necessary. The critics will jump on it. The keyboard warriors will type consistency is key in the comments section, as if they've uncovered some hidden wisdom that professional athletes and coaches have somehow overlooked. But real tennis heads know that this is the price of admission to the elite level. You play big weeks, you get tired, you lose, you learn, you go again. The loss in Doha doesn't erase the magic of Abu Dhabi. It just frames it. It reminds us that she is still 20 years old. She is still building the engine that needs to run for the next decade. She is still learning how to manage the physical and emotional toll of back-to-back tournaments. The ranking points from Doha might be minimal, but the ranking points from Abu Dhabi are in the bank, locked in, secured. She is still sitting at a career high. The trajectory is still pointing straight up. One bad match doesn't change the story. It just adds texture. And here's the thing about texture. It makes the story real. If Alex won every match, if she never struggled, if she never showed vulnerability, we wouldn't be able to relate. We love her because she fights. We love her because she bleeds. We love her because when she gets knocked down, she gets back up with dirt on her face and fire in her eyes. The loss to Valentova hurts, sure, but it also sets up the next chapter. It gives her something to prove. It gives us something to root for. So where do we go from here? The 2026 season is young, still full of possibility and promise. The clay courts of Europe are calling, a surface she learned to master at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, where she spent years grinding under the Spanish sun, learning the art of sliding, constructing points, and outlasting opponents in brutal baseline wars. The French Open is looming on the horizon like a mountain waiting to be climbed. With her new ranking, she won't be fighting for her life in the qualifiers anymore. She'll likely be in the main draw, fresh and ready to hunt, ready to make noise on the biggest stage in clay court tennis. The rivalry with players like Valentova and the other rising stars of the WTA is just beginning. These girls, many of them still teenagers or in their early 20s, will be battling each other for the next 10 years. We are witnessing the prologue of a story that will likely end with major trophies, with Grand Slam finals, with battles that will define an era. But for now, let's hold on to the image of that night in Abu Dhabi. The night the lights didn't just shine on a building. They shined on a nation. The night the world realized that Philippine tennis isn't just happy to be here anymore. The night Alex Ila proved that she isn't just the future. She is the right now. And let's talk about what this means beyond the rankings and the trophies. Alex Ila represents something new for the Philippines. We have had champions before, legends who carried the flag into battle and came back victorious. We have Manny Pacquiao, who punched his way out of poverty in General Santos City to become a global icon, an 8-division world champion, a senator, a cultural force who made the world stop and pay attention every time he stepped into the ring. We have Hidilyn Diaz, who lifted the weight of a nation, literally and figuratively, to win the Philippines' first ever Olympic gold medal in Tokyo, ending a nearly 100-year drought and bringing an entire country to tears of joy. These are titans. These are names that will echo through history. But Alex Ila represents something different. She is the Gen Z icon. She speaks to a generation that is digital native, global, and unapologetically confident. She grew up with social media. She trains in Spain. She competes in the Middle East. She represents a Philippines that is no longer looking inward, no longer defined by what it lacks, but outward, ready to claim its place on the world stage. She isn't just fighting for survival. She's fighting for dominance. She isn't asking for a seat at the table. She's building her own table and inviting the world to sit with her. When her face lit up that building in Abu Dhabi, it resonated so deeply because it happened in the Middle East, a place that holds such a complex and emotional place in the Filipino consciousness. The UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, these are countries where millions of Filipinos have built second lives, sent money home, sacrificed years of their own happiness so their children could have better opportunities. For those workers, seeing a Filipina girl treated like a superstar in the very cities where they have scrubbed floors, changed bedpans, and endured loneliness, that is a vindication that words can barely capture. It tells them their sacrifice mattered. It tells them their children's children might not have to leave home to succeed. It tells them the world is changing, and the Philippines is part of that change. The skyscraper has gone dark. The projection is turned off. The tournament is over. But the light she ignited in the hearts of millions? That isn't going out anytime soon. It's burning brighter than ever. It's spreading. It's inspiring young girls in Manila to pick up a racket for the first time. It's inspiring parents to invest in their children's dreams. It's inspiring an entire nation to believe that we can compete with anyone, anywhere, anytime. And that belief, that faith, that pride, is more valuable than any trophy. Alex Ila's journey is far from over. In fact, it's really just beginning. The hard courts of Australia, the clay of Paris, the grass of Wimbledon, the fast courts of New York, these stages are waiting for her. The Grand Slam titles, the top 10 ranking, the Olympic medals, these milestones are within reach now. Not someday. Not maybe. Now. The world is watching. The Philippines is watching. And Alex Ila is ready. She has been ready. She was born ready. If you believe Alex Ila is destined for a Grand Slam, smash that like button right now. If you were one of the millions cheering at your screen, drop a comment below and tell us where you were watching from. We want to see the global roll call of the Ila Army. Were you in Manila? Dubai? New York? Tokyo? Let us know. And if you want to stay updated on every serve, every volley, and every historic moment of this incredible journey, make sure you subscribe to Court Vision Plus and ring that bell. Because this story is only getting started, and you don't want to miss a single chapter. We don't just watch the game. We see the vision. We see the struggle. We see the glory. We see the future. And the future looks like a 20-year-old girl from Quezon City, standing under the lights, racket in hand, ready to take on the world. Until next time, this is Court Vision Plus, signing off. Keep fighting. Keep believing. And keep your eyes on the stars, because one of them has our flag on it.
And then just globally, do you have a sense of, like, sorry, I'm not trying to give you an ego here, but like if you look at the numbers on YouTube for like the pre-tournament press conferences, how much people watch them? Yours is at like 107.
A little out of words. I think this time of the year is a tough moment for a lot of players.